Lord Nazir Ahmed was Lord of Rotherham, a Labour Party peer. In 2002, he was convicted for underage child sex abuse. Go and look at the BBC article. It's a headline story.
Yeah.
The only reason that didn't capture our imagination is because obviously, sorry, I said 2002, 2022. We've come off the back of COVID and everything. We've been very distracted. If you've got the power to compromise politicians, such as members of our House of Lords, by having them come into those sorts of environments where this criminal conduct is being perpetrated, you've then got them engaged in criminal sex acts, right? And then as an organised gang, you can then manipulate them. This is exactly how...
Do you think Ahmed was manipulated by an organised gang?
Well, he was certainly manipulated. The fact that by the end of it, how he got caught, he was basically molesting boys.
He got sentenced to 3.5 years and he's convicted for raping a 9-year-old boy. He only served 6 months.
Yeah. Well, by the way, this is exactly how the Krays operated, and we know from the historic story of the Krays that they were manipulating politicians. But this is exactly how they operated. This is, if anyone looks into the Krays, you can see it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a well-known, tried and tested technique, and that is called, it has a political science term. It's called kompromat with a K, right? And that is, you acquire this compromising material over politicians like Lord Nazir Ahmed, so that you can then say, hang it over them, right, over their heads, and say, I've got this on you. You need to do what I say.
So this is a whole other dynamic, because, of course, people following will understand that the grooming gang scandal, it's kind of completely in the whole fabric of our nation. It wasn't just a failure of the ideology of mass migration, of multiculturalism, or it's a failure of multiculturalism, I say, but it's also local police failed, local council failed, politicians failed. But now it's also, I hadn't put this dynamic in it, but also that these gangs were deliberately capturing politicians.
Local police and local councils and social services didn't fail.
They didn't.
They were complicit. Failure indicates that they were caught off guard and didn't know how to behave. Maggie Oliver, who is a former police detective who was investigating a lot of these underage rape grooming gang cases, makes the very same allegation, that they were covering it up. That's different to failing. Failing would indicate a mistake. Covering it up indicates deliberate intent. Now, of course, not every single police officer, not every single local councillor, and not every single care worker is complicit. That's like not every single British Pakistani Muslim is complicit. Let's stop being emotional about this conversation. Nobody is alleging every single Pakistani in Britain is a sex pest. Every single police officer is a criminal, corrupt bribe taker. Every single local councillor is a paedophile. Nobody's alleging that. Let's make that very clear. Mm-hmm. We're saying that there are points of failure in police, in local councils, in care workers, and in Westminster politicians, and in our local Pakistani British communities. Those points of failure are complicit, not accidental. They were deliberately set up to fail because this was an organised operation, not just on the street level with the British Pakistani gangs, but actually this organisation went through into the police, into the councils, and into the care workers. And how this was covered up. So the scandal, credit where credit is due. Elon Musk interfered with how we do politics in this country by trying to unseat Nigel Farage, but credit where it's due because he raised it at least and has had this comment. The scandal isn't that this had happened. What Elon may or may not have known is we knew this had happened a long time ago. Everyone was aware of the grooming gang scandal. The Times newspaper ran a front page on it. The scandal now, the current 2025 scandal, is the cover-up. And that's why Maggie Oliver's voice is so important. Because the cover-up was orchestrated because Keir Starmer, as Director of Public Prosecutions at the time, and that, for those who aren't British, that's the head of our Crown Prosecution Service. The Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, he makes the decision whom to prosecute and who not to prosecute, right? And they are allowed, in the name of public interest, not to prosecute certain cases. That's one of their criteria. Keir Starmer was the DPP, director of that at the time, and chose not to prosecute a very well-known case in these underage rape grooming gang scandal cases. He chose not to prosecute it despite the fact that the DNA of the man was found on the girl's underwear. He chose not to prosecute. Maggie Oliver makes this very specific allegation, but it's also a matter of record anyway, right? Now, there's an example of the cover-up, right? That's the same Keir Starmer who chose not to prosecute Sir Jimmy Savile when he was DPP. That's the same Keir Starmer who now, despite all of this having come out, wants to appoint Lord Mandelson as our ambassador to America, despite the fact Mandelson is known, not in dispute, known to have visited Epstein's Island, to have gone to Epstein's mansion in New York after Epstein's conviction, and to have gone to Paris with Epstein for his birthday. Now, all of this doesn't imply guilt for Mandelson. What it means is there are many, many questions that require answers. And it does point to a cover-up. And so finally, I'll say, that's why we need, and it's a demand, it's no longer a request. We are demanding, and they can't run from this, they can't hide from this. We will not retreat, we will not surrender. Because the children are more important. We don't care. They can bring anything, they can throw anything at us. The children are more important. We are demanding a national inquiry. And if Starmer doesn't get out of our way, there will be a national inquiry on his head. We are demanding a national inquiry because what I've raised here, they're all questions. I'm not accusing Starmer of being a paedophile. I'm not accusing Mandelson of being a paedophile. I'm saying there are questions that need to be answered, and only a national inquiry can answer those questions. It looks to me like, and listen, I called 2020 with Trump. I called Ukraine. I called COVID, and I've suffered for it. I'm prepared to take the hit. This looks to me like there was a cover-up, and there are questions that need answers.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Winston Marshall Show. You can click here to watch the full episode, and for more clips like this one, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, be well.